Well, what's going on, everybody? And welcome back to the Canadian Football Fanatics YouTube channel. And thank you guys for tuning in to another video here today. And as you guys can see by the title, we have a special guest joining us here today. One Jevon Cottoy, BC Lions receiver, will be joining us here in a few moments. But before we get to our guest of today's video, just wanted to say a happy new year. Hope everyone enjoyed their holiday season. I know it's been a few weeks since you've seen mine and Blake's face here on the channel since the off-season primers wrapped up in 2024. We can say that. And once the year turned to 2025, I wanted to kind of take a little bit of a breather, take a little bit of a break, hit reset going into the new year, and then start to pump out some of our content, starting with today's video. Jevon Cottoy joining the channel to talk about his journey throughout his football career. So far, still some writing to be had for Jevon Cottoy to finish his story. But yeah, super excited for today's guest that'll be joining us here in a few moments. Other than that, guys, it is off-season mode. There will be some content coming out here and there in terms of outside of the podcast episode, so stay tuned for that. Today, actually, we got some good news today that I'm recording this. I guess by the time you are listening, it'll be old news, but the CFL schedule came out this morning, which was nice to see. I know it had been very talked about on social media of when it was going to come out. It got delayed, and now we finally have it. So a little bummed that no touchdown Pacific this year, no touchdown games at all, no touchdown Atlantic, no touchdown Pacific. That means the BC Lions will no longer be playing on Labor Day this upcoming season. All good, a little bit of a bummer. But other than that, news should be coming here. Um, you know, we're going to get into free agency season, and then, that'll obviously be a busy week or two. And then after that, things will start to quiet down a little bit. And that's when hopefully our podcast episodes are going to be coming out every week. And that brings me to a list of podcast guests we already have lined up, including Jevon Cottoy on today's episode. Super excited to talk with Jevon about his journey. Once again, Jevon and I are a little bit familiar. More so, I'm familiar with Jevon more so than he is with me. We played against each other when Jevon spent his one and only season in the BCFC in 2018. And excited to kind of hear some behind the scenes of what he was going throughout his journey to the CFL. Other guests we have lined up, we have CFL legend, future Hall of Famer, Andrew Harris will be coming on the podcast to join us to talk about his journey as well. We also have BC boy, Jalen Philpott lined up, Calgary Stampeders receiver. He's going to be joining the program in a few weeks, is on vacation right now. Once he gets home from that, we're going to line up a date and then hopefully get that out to you guys once that's recorded. We also have sat down with head coach of the Vancouver Island Raiders, Sean Arabsky, and we'll be releasing that video here shortly. You could probably expect the Sean episode after the Jevon episode, maybe even after the Andrew episode. We will see how things work out, but it was a good conversation with Sean. It was a 2-hour conversation with Sean, a little bit of a longer one. Not too sure if we're going to release it in a part 1 or part 2. Honestly, I might just kind of give it to you all in whole. But it was a really good conversation. Learned about Sean's journey and also what he's got going on right now with the Vancouver Island Raiders as the head coach, as well as everything going on at Caged Athletics. So I think that kind of is everything to get you guys up to date. Podcast season is here, off-season mode. Other than that, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below if you guys are enjoying today's episode. Comment who you guys would like to see come on the channel in future podcast episodes. And most importantly, obviously, is subscribing here to the channel, trying to push to 300 subscribers. That would be greatly appreciated if you guys push the subscribe button. And when you guys do push the notification bell as well, you guys get notified every time we go live or upload any sort of content here on the channel. As well, that brings me to following our social media platforms. We are on Instagram at Canadian Football Fanatics, as well as Twitter at underscore CF Fanatics on Twitter. So I think that is everything, folks. Let's throw it to the Jevon Cottoy episode right now. Alrighty, Fanatics, joining me now. Episode I am very excited about. BC Lions receiver, Jevon Cottoy. Jevon, thanks for joining us, buddy. How are you doing?
First of all, thanks for having me, and I am doing tremendous, man. Excited to go, excited to work, get to work, and hopefully bring this great city a great cup, man.
Yes, sir. Well, I couldn't said it better myself, Jevon. So I don't think we've seen you. How's the offseason been treating you so far, Jevon?
It's been fun, man. I got a chance to step away from football for a month or two. Um, was traveling with my girlfriend. Went to Turks and Caicos for about a week. Seen some family. My godmother came back to Canada. Spent some time in Edmonton and Calgary. Got to see my dad's side of the family. Spent Christmas there too. It's pretty chilly, you know what I mean? It's a little bit different than BC weather, BC Christmas, but definitely fun to say the least. And yeah, man, it's always a blessing to be able to just like kind of step away from the sport that you love and kind of enjoy some family time, some downtime to get that real R&R, that rest and recovery, right, for your body, mind, and soul, right? So I definitely got that in the off season, and I'm ready to work now. It's January, almost February. It's that date. I feel like today. Well, actually, today is the calendar. The calendar got released today, so now it's like everyone's itching to get back to playing some football now.
Yeah, we were just talking off camera and, all the stuff that you guys go through in season, dating back to, training camp and stuff like that. It's kind of nice to just take a step away from football, take a deep breath, and then attack it again, like you were mentioning. So, you mentioned about schedule, Joanne. Before we get into yourself, is that something like you look at and like obviously there's like the cliches like, oh, I circle like these games and stuff like that. But obviously for you, you've been a Lion, so there's no like playing against your former team. But is there like, oh, like I'm playing against my good friend on like Edmonton or whatever it may be? Is there like some of those games that you look forward to? Even I guess for like me, I know unfortunately this year there's no touchdown Pacific games, but like, is there any like away cities that like you like to go to or anything like that?
Yeah, man, definitely. First and foremost, I have family in Calgary, Edmonton, and Toronto. So those are like my top three cities. Those are three cities aside from BC. That's where I enjoy playing. And hopefully, my mom hasn't seen me play a football game yet. She still lives in the Caribbean, but she's going to be in New York around I think July. So I'm thinking hopefully we have like an East Coast game around that time so she can come over and maybe watch a game. We tried last year, but she kind of like chickened out at the end. I don't know why she got scared. She got nervous, but we're gonna try again this year. But yeah, that's what I look forward to is just playing in front of family and seeing family because I don't get to see them because I'm in BC.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Calgary probably got that much more exciting for you guys too. Go CBA and that stuff. So let's get into about you, Javon. As you just mentioned, family back in the Caribbean. I believe you're from a small island in the Caribbean called St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I hope I'm not butchering that. But
It's
tell us a little
perfect.
bit about where you grew up and kind of what home means to you.
Yeah, man. St. Vincent is definitely a big part of me. I try to rep it everywhere I go. If anybody asks me where I'm from, obviously I live in Canada. Canada has kind of made me to where I am today, but none of this would have been possible if it wasn't for St. Vincent. That's where I was born. That's where I grew up for about 8 or 9 years of my life. And I didn't know about football, man. Like to be honest, I didn't know about like the American football. When we say football, it's considered soccer up here in North America, right? So um I was more into like track, soccer, and cricket. That was like my top three sports, right? That was like me being active as a kid, just running around. And when I came to Canada, that's when things changed. But yeah, man, St. Vincent is a big part of me. I try to go back as much as I can. I didn't go back this Christmas, but the past two Christmases I was there. That's where my mom is, my little sister, and a big portion of my mom's side. You know, I left in grade three, I think, and before I left, like just to like a quick little info, like the grading system is a little bit different. It's if there's 30 kids in the class, it's considered like not everybody's getting A's and B's and fours and fives. It's like considered how good you are, like how well you're doing. And it's like it's either you're 1 to 30 in your class. So if you're like top three, you're 1, 2, 3 in the class. And from kindergarten to grade 3, I was like either top 2 always. You know what I mean? So I was a pretty smart kid growing up until I came to Canada. And yeah, man, St. Vincent's huge, man. It's a big piece of me.
I saw that you kind of wanted to make that be known that like you live in Canada, but you're from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Um, Tell us a little bit about the backstory of like coming to Canada. I believe your father came before you guys kind of settled there in Calgary, and then you and some siblings or just yourself joined them. Tell us a little bit about when you came to Canada and kind of just settling in Calgary.
Yeah, man, it was my dad and his sister, my aunt, that came to Calgary first. Out of the bunch of them, my dad has like I think 8 or 9 siblings. So more of them came afterwards, but those were the first two that kind of come to Calgary and settle in Calgary. And I kind of like nudged my mom quite a bit to say like, hey mom, like I want to go live with my dad. Let me, I want to go see what life is like up there. And she's like, are you sure? Like it's different. It's a lot different than, this like laid back kind of slow, because in the Caribbean, like the pace of living is very slow and mellow and chill, right? When you come up here, it's just like fast paced, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it was my dad who came up first, and everybody, he was like the trailblazer. And then it was my aunt, then my dad, and then his sisters, and then eventually almost all of us are up here except for my grandma. That's it.
Crazy. So what were
Yeah.
your impressions of Canada? Like, were you like, man, this is home now, kind of thing, or like, were you a little bit homesick, obviously, because like family's back home, obviously, so it's like a little bit of like that bittersweet, like, damn, I kind of want to be with them and want them to like see this as well, but also you're like, this is cool as heck.
Man, I was just impressed with so many different things that you could do. Like, not trying to be fun or anything, but like even playing like curling or badminton, like things like that I never knew about, was just like a shocker. I'm like, people compete in this, people make money in this. You could be like a professional curler, a professional badminton player. Yeah, I was like thoroughly impressed with different things you could do. Just going to the mall was new for me. I remember, I think one of my first memories coming up here was going to the mall and seeing, I think it was maybe like a Toys R Us or something, and seeing the amount of like toy cars that you could like just pick up. You know what I'm saying? Like in
It-
St. Vincent, it was like if you see like a toy car, that means you're like rich or something. That means you have money. But like in Toys R Us, it's maybe like $4 or $5 to pick up each one, and it was a little bit different. That was one of my first memories coming up here, and I think the biggest thing, of course, going from St. Vincent to Calgary was winter. And like the first winter, I was excited to see snow for the first time, because all I did was just hear about it. How it was white and pretty and beautiful. So I was, had my gear, my snow pants, everything, going to school. And I think grade 4 at the time, went outside, was doing the little snow angels and everything. And it was fun for maybe like 2 years, man. And then after like that, it was just brutal. I'm like, this is annoying. Like, it's annoying where you have to start your car, wait 10, 15 minutes before you got to go somewhere, go outside to start your car, and then come back in and wait. You know what I mean? So things like that was just night and day, man, from a Caribbean country to Calgary, out of all places.
those prairie winters are different, man. I'm a
I'm
proud
telling
BC
you.
boy, and I don't want no part of those weather, man. But I'm curious. You talk about kind of like that little story there. And I'm curious, you always kind of go back to like that's where you're from, and like you always want to make that be known. Do you think like that's kind of made you the person that you are today? Because like hearing that, like I feel like puts things into perspective of like you're back home and you only have like a toy car. That means you like are rich, like you said, right? Where like in Canada, kids are like so take almost like advantage of like they could have like three or four of these things and walk out of the store, right? Do you think that kind of like
Mhm.
made you the person that you are today, Jamal?
Yeah, I'd say that. I definitely don't take things for granted. I put in the work every single day. Doesn't matter what I'm doing, if I'm playing football or if I'm working. being a good role model to my siblings and stuff like that. You know, I take great pride in doing whatever I do, man, because probably not now, but maybe when I first came up, I was always thinking, you know, if things went a different way, I could always go back or end up in St. Vincent. You know what I mean? So I definitely do take full advantage of the opportunities that's like provided in front of me, and then making sure I also give back at the same time too.
Yeah, so let's get into football. You said that like football was you were kind of more so that was like soccer, kind of thing, and you're into other sports and stuff like that. When did football come into your life, and was it like an instant attraction to it, or was it like maybe like kind of let this grow on me a little bit, and then maybe you found yourself in that sport, or how did football kind of fall into your lap?
Yeah, man. When I first came here, you know, my dad kind of introduced me to all of the sports that you could play and obviously watch too, right? Because there's like a bigger selection up here in Canada opposed to St. Vincent. But yeah, one of the sports that kind of stood out to me was basketball and football. I played basketball and football throughout high school and everything. But my dad would say, and I would even eventually see that I was more dominant playing football opposed to basketball. Because in basketball, I was good, but I played center at 6'5". In Canada, that's okay. But like if you want to make it somewhere, 6'5" guys are usually like point guards, like Steph
Yeah.
Curry and Kyrie Irving and stuff like that. 6'5", you can't play center anywhere else other than high school, maybe in the States, but for sure Canada, right? So I kind of figured that out after I started playing. But I started playing when I was 13, I think, 12 or 13. And I picked up the sport after watching the Patriots, man. I was a big, or still am a big Randy Moss fan. And just to see him just every year putting up the stats he was doing, mossing everybody, touchdowns, just disgusting. You know what I mean? He just took over the entire league. So I always said like I wanted to be a receiver, but I didn't really start off that way. When I first started playing football, I didn't know anything about it. They just said they gave me a number. They gave me number 99. They put me in as D end, and they said to just go hit the person with the ball. Man, I don't care what you do, spin, whatever you got to do, go hit the person with the ball. And that was my that was my first like objective. That was my first task was to hit the person with the ball. So I started off as a D end, and I made my way through. Played some running back. Played some. What else did I play, man? Before I started to know, like, hey, I could do this receiver thing. I played some BM. I played some running back. In high school, I played punter, kicker, quarterback in my senior year, and then if it wasn't for the Senior Bowl in my senior year of high school when I went to try out as a quarterback to make Team Alberta, I was cut. Um, I didn't make it as the quarterback that year, and luckily the coach that season told me like, "Yo, you need to quit this whole trying to be a quarterback stuff and be a receiver for good. Like this is what you do. You're good at it, and stick to it." So after high school, that's when I said, you know what, I'm just gonna do receiver, and then that's when I played with the Colts and the Langley Rams, and yeah, man, that's how it all started.
So, obviously grew up in Calgary. Going to the Colts is probably a seamless transition, able to stay at home. Was there any other schools, junior teams interested at the time? Obviously, I believe you ended up being committed to the University of Calgary at a period of time, but were there any other like options for you, or was it just kind of like the Colts because they're like in my hometown here?
Yeah, so during that time, I was doing some upgrading from high school. So I was playing with the Colts, doing some upgrading because the UFC wanted me to play for them, but I didn't have the grades at that time. So I got everything set up, and then when they gave me the scholarship, that was when I was able to play. But then because of injuries and such, kind of stepped back from the game a bit. But yeah, the Dinos were interested. I think that was it, man. It was just the Colts and the Dinos. It's a long time ago. That was like 2014, like 11 years ago.
10 plus
So
years ago. Yeah.
Those are the only two teams that come off the top of my head right now.
So another person that I'm very familiar with here, living in Nanaimo, being a Vancouver Island Raider alumni, is Coach Snoop, and I know that's a big reason why you ended up coming to Langley. But I believe he ended up coaching you in Calgary. Was he there from the beginning of your rookie season, or did he come that 2015 season?
Yeah, so the person who I'm speaking of is Coach Snoop. He
Oh,
was at the Senior Bowl high school, and he's like, "Hey man,
so
like,
Coach Snoop is the reason why you play receiver?
correct." He is he's the
Crazy.
probably the biggest reason. Yeah, he said, "Hey man, like you're like I know you want to be a quarterback and everything, but no, you're gonna come to the Colts next year, and you're gonna play receiver, and you're gonna dominate." I remember him saying that, and
And
yeah, if it
you
was
obviously, sorry, Javon, to cut you off, but you obviously ended up winning, I believe, Rookie of the Year for the PFC, if I'm not mistaken,
uh
or
for the Colts for sure. I don't think for the
for the Colts. Okay,
PFC.
my
Yeah.
apologies. Continue,
That's
sorry.
okay. I would probably take that if
Yeah,
anything.
you
But
take
yeah,
it.
man. Yeah, Snoop was at that like Senior Bowl tryouts, and he was scouting everybody to get players for the Calgary Colts because that was his first year. I believe my first year was his first year in Calgary because he came from BC. Um and yeah, things started off good, started off hot, and the second year was supposed to be my like breakout year, and I felt that coming into the season. We would be talking about the playbook and everything going into the season, how I felt confident enough to be like, okay, I'm gonna either win so and so or we're gonna win this championship this year. I felt confident enough, and then unfortunately that's when I suffered my injury in my second year.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that, Javon. That was kind of the word that was going around when you came to the BCFC. Like this is a receiver from the Calgary Colts who like got injured a few years ago, and he's a stud and all that stuff. So take us through that period of time because I know you mentioned about kind of taking a step away from the game and kind of going through that process of like being hurt, and people don't understand. I feel like if they're not athletes, of like that routine that you're in is like almost like mental peace in a way of like you don't have to like stress about other things, and sometimes when you're hurt you can kind of like focus on other negative situations. So like being away from the game at that period of time where you're starting to like feel like you're going to maybe take over and stuff like that, was that a tough period of time for you, and how did you kind of go through that and handle it?
Yeah, man. I'd say if anybody would ask me, or I've spoken to a lot of people, those were probably like my darkest times, man. Just not knowing what to do next or what's coming next. Like obviously after every season you're expecting like a new season, like a new team, probably the same coaches or new coaches, but different faces in some areas, right? And getting injured that early, not being able to kind of just like be that support for your team, not physically, but just being there, moral support and everything. Um, Taking a step away from my job. I couldn't work. I was working at Red Lobster at the time. I couldn't work at Red Lobster, man, not getting the funds. And that was like my first major injury in my career. So like I didn't know how to, like come back from it in a way. Obviously, like you're gonna heal and you're gonna do the rehab, but just the mental aspect of coming back where you have to like learn almost how to run again, sprint again. It's just there's just so much doubt and there's so much like nervousness in your mind where it takes time, you know what I mean? And at that time, I was doing my rehab a year after I believe the Dinos reached out, which was a big like confidence booster, for somebody to still want me to come play for them. Was huge. And I said, okay, yeah, definitely let me do my part on rehabbing and making sure I'm good to go by the season. And then when the season came, my knee was still swollen. I'm doing everything right. All of the rehab exercises, everyone's saying I'm on the right track. I'm on pace to come back for the start of the season and still swollen, right? So at that point, there's so much I could do, right? Physically. So I tried to do a scope to try to know what's going on. They went inside my knee. They said we don't know. It just needs more time. So that kind of set me back when I didn't really need to get set back. I just needed more time, but things just had to be done at that time, and just that year and a half of rehab, not being able to play the sport that you love, stepping away from work, stuff like that. I was just down, you know what I mean? And I had to go back home to St. Vincent, see my mom and everything like that. And we had a conversation, a long conversation about like just life after football. Like, what are you going to do without football? Have you thought about that? And I said, no, man, like I'm thinking I'm going to make it. This is my mission. This is my goal. Right. So I had to just brainstorm ideas and things to think about what to do after football. And we came up with the idea of firefighting. And I'm thinking that's like the next best thing for me at the time to football. I'm in a team environment. How's it going, Blake? What's going on?
Like you
um,
can join back in, buddy. You're good.
yeah. So sorry. Was doing the firefighting, and things were going smooth. Completing my courses. Now I'm thinking I'm just waiting for the interview process to happen, and I can get back into doing something like team oriented, right? Because I'm a big team guy. And then after I finished all of these things and I'm about to become a firefighter, I get a call. What's going on? It's Coach Snoop. It's like, hey man, what's going on? How you been, man? I hope everything's smooth. Like, how's the rehab coming along? Big news. I'm not in Calgary anymore. I'm going to Langley next year. Well, okay, cool. Good for you. That's amazing. You know what I mean? And he said, okay, but I want you to still come play for me. You still got 1 year left, man. Like, you gotta come give it a shot. Right. I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of like on a different path right now in life to just escape from football and kind of start this new venture, right? Which was firefighting at the time. And he kept calling me, man, like every week. I was like, okay. Let me come out to BC for a visit. Right. So almost like kind of those high school guys going like D1 school visits and stuff like that. I went out to Vancouver. We went out to a club, I think. It was nice. We went out to the beach. Now I'm from the Caribbean. We don't get this in Calgary. So I'm thinking, damn, like the weather's nice, sand, you know what I'm saying? Water. And then we went down to Seattle too. We crossed the border. I'm like, we're this close to the border. Like it's just a different type of experience, right? That I haven't experienced in Calgary for the past couple of years, right? So, long story short, he kind of just said, just try it out one last year. If you do good, so what? If you don't, you tried something new. You know what I mean? And then my best friend too, Xavier, he kind of made the jump. He was playing with the Colts with me. He played all of the seasons. Snoop was there, and then he made the jump from Calgary to Langley. So he was also like, "Hey man, like Jeff, you got to come out here. You got to try this out, man. It's nice out here. It's beautiful. You got to come out here with me. I have no one out here. You got to come out here with me." So that's like, cool. I'm gonna come try it out. And then I had a pretty good season with Langley that year. And yeah, man, the rest is history. The BC Lions with Neil McAvoy, he played with the Rams, so he's always around. Junior football and with the Langley Rams, so he's always around. And I guess he was watching me from like day one to see, if I had potential or something like that. So I think after a couple weeks, they invited me to the facility, and it was Chris Boyko. I think Neil was there. Ed Hervey was there, and Coach Howie was there, and I think Coach Snoop was there too. And they had me doing some drills. I'm pretty sure I was crushing these drills, but then again, check me out, man. Full circle. They say, okay, like he can move at his size. He's tall. He's very raw, but I feel like he'll be good as a D end. I said, what? They didn't tell me that. They told I think either Howard or Snoop, and then I think both of those guys, or one of those guys, stepped him's like, he's not playing DN, guys. He's a receiver. He's gonna play receiver. That's what's gonna happen. Simple as that. Close case. Like, we're not doing, no, it's not happening, right? So yeah, after that, I guess it was shortly after that, or after the season, we came back to like contracts and everything, and that's when I got signed to I think it was like a training camp kind of thing to kind of just like make the team and stuff like that. Yeah.
So, Javon, this is where I was curious to ask you a few questions because this is where I became familiar with who you were. Obviously, making the trip out to Langley and into the BCFC. I definitely have a few questions to ask because I was on the wrong side of a few of your performances.
Mhm.
But first, before we get to those, what are just like your basic or just like a memory that jumps out to you from that 2018 season? Obviously, you guys went on to win the Cullen Cup and were a very, very talented team on both offense and defense. Is there any like memories that just jump out right away and that kind of stick out to you?
Um, I'd say, man, the memory. It's probably a funny memory, but because we kept losing to the Hilltops every year in Calgary, me playing and not playing. So it was just the belief that we had, the confidence we had before going to Saskatoon to play the Hilltops in the national final. So I'm thinking, yo, this is us. We're gonna do this right once and for all, right? So I'm from Calgary, so I'm kind of used to the cold. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else is a little bit different, and people come from different parts of BC. And that Saskatoon weather was just a different beast, man. So I remember I tried to like play mind games with the hilt. It probably didn't even work, whatever. But I went out with no sleeves. I played the game with no sleeves because I'm like, you know what? I don't feel nothing. This is cold as nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? So I think that in the locker room, just us realizing like, okay, this is gonna be a little different than like playing in BC. The Saskatoon minus 20 something degrees. These guys play with this all year round, practice with this all year round. So I remember that like before the game and after the game, it was like we're so hyped, we're ready to go. We're gonna win this game. And after the game, it was like shit, man. That shit was cold as hell. I
I have
remember
I have
that.
a very similar experience, Ron, in 2017 when we went and we had the same confidence going in. We're like, we're gonna be the team that knocks them off in Saskatoon, and then
Mhm.
I believe like we deferred and we got the ball in the second half, and then I think they instead of receiving, they kicked off to start the game. So they kicked to us twice. They had so much confidence, and then ended up blowing us out, and it was just a different wind over there. But Blake, I know you only got a short period of time to join us, buddy. So I appreciate you for joining us, number one. But is there any questions you want to ask Javon before you got to get out of here?
Yeah, no, definitely there is. Jevon, first of all, nice to see you again.
You as
You,
well.
you, you and I have we've known each other for a few years now. I believe the first time we met in person was during the Rams Canadian Bowl run in 2021, I believe. You
Hmm.
you took a picture with me and my son, if you remember that. We were in the pouring rain under the concrete.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
but yeah, no. Just a funny little one I had for you is, other than football, do you have a favorite sport?
Yeah, I'd say basketball. Basketball is my second favorite sport. I feel like if I didn't play football, I'd try to make it in basketball somehow, some way, like a Draymond Green kind of deal, like a short center. Because I was good at center, but I didn't have the height to play in the NBA or something like that, like in Europe or whatever the case is. But I feel like I could make it work
Did you
Jeff,
play in
Jeff,
high
are you are
school?
you are you watching basketball, Javon? Or are you just like you
all the
talking about
time.
playing? Are you watching? Are you like a fan of basketball like that way too?
Of course, yeah, yeah.
Who's your team?
I'm a LeBron guy. I'm a big LeBron guy. So right now, the Lakers. Yeah. Sorry, guys,
Oh,
if I
okay, okay.
offended anyone. I
I
feel like
love
when
it.
I
I
say
love
that,
it.
there's like two sides. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I
No,
like LeBron.
it's okay. Like I respect LeBron for what he is, but like I'm a diehard Raptors. As tough as it is to say that right now, like I have a
Mhm.
Raptors championship tattoo, so that's how
There
diehard
you
I am.
go. That's all that matters, man. Is winning, and they won recently.
Okay,
So
Javon, I have a question that I've been dying to ask because, like I said, I was on the wrong end of it. I don't know if you remember it because I don't know, but I haven't gotten a reaction yet. But 2018 semifinals BCFC. I don't know if you remember about your stat line specifically, but it was
this is
against my
the
IBI Raiders.
Hamilton.
uh,
Oh, the
No,
Raiders.
no, the BCFC semifinals. So we came to you guys, and I believe the 2-3 matchup. I think because I think Oki was number one that year, if I'm not mistaken. But
It was a
anyways,
game before the Cullen Cup,
D-
right?
Duncan Little ended up going down after the first quarter and hurting his knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now you're smiling. You understand. Okay,
With
so
Tristan
I'm gonna
Yancey. Yeah.
yes, I'm gonna preference this and say I went and rewatched the game. Jevon was held without a catch for the first quarter, and after that point, Jevon finished with 7 receptions for 245 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Oh gosh.
So that was a tough day. Like I said, I was on the wrong end of that because I was on the other sideline. I'm curious, what are your memories of that? Because it was like I said, it was a slower start. You didn't have a catch in the first quarter. And then your starting quarterback of all people goes down, and you have Tristan Yansu, backup quarterback, comes in. And for people that maybe don't know, Tristan, no offense to Tristan, because I feel very similar to Tristan, but he's about like 5'8", 5'10", maybe like 170, 80 pounds, like very small
Beast.
quarterback.
Yes.
And you guys, now this sucks as well because those are a lot of my boys in the secondary that you were running past and doing a lot of nasty things to. What are your memories of that at all, and of kind of that game at all?
Yeah, I'd say two things. Number one, with Tristan. So I know
Oh,
Duncan went down, but with Tristan,
yeah.
I just know like not to be selfish or self-centered. I know the ball is coming to me. I know Howie on the sideline is gonna tell Tristan. I think it was like one time he said, "I don't give a f what you see. Throw the ball to Jevon." And I think it was a couple times like, "Hey, we're gonna get this going at one point." So I wasn't really like, yes, I was bummed out that Duncan Little, because he's also from Calgary too. That's my guy, you know. But it's like it's football, man. It's like one man down, the next man up mentality. And Tristan came in and balled out, and I wasn't too worried because I know the ball. I just had to make my plays. I just had to do what I do best, is just dominate, right? So I wasn't too stressed out that Tristan came in and he was gonna like shit the bed or whatever. He did his thing, and I made him look good. He made me look good. So I wasn't too concerned about that. And then number two, a memory about that game. The whole week, there's another guy on the Raiders with the same kind of pronunciation as my name, but a different spelling. And his name was Jevon, right? Like Geov something
Yeah.
something. And I heard all week like Javon's the real Javon. He's gonna lock down the second the Javon B or whatever like that, right? So like, what are you guys talking about? Like, I don't remember the first time who. And then came out to the field. Like a little, no offense, man, but he's a little shorter statue guy, Javon. And I was like, this guy, like, come on, man. You know what I mean? And the first quarter, like you said, I was struggling. I was like, damn, shit, I gotta get out of my head. What the fuck's going on here? And then yeah, the rest, I think there was a couple on him, correct?
There
If
was
I'm not
there
mistaken.
was
Yeah.
more than a couple.
Yeah, there was a couple on him. So I kind of had to just put my foot down and be like, you know what I'm saying? Who's Javon? Like, come on, it's me, guys. Like, so I remember that memory, like the talk up to the game, like Javon's gonna lock you down. I'm hearing guys are saying like the only guy in this league is Javon. He's the real Javon. He's gonna cover you. It's the first time you're gonna be covered this season. Okay, cool. Let's see what happens when the game comes, right? So those are the two memories I have from the game.
Like I said, that this one hurts for me because G is a good buddy of mine. Sean, who was playing safety at the time, number 6, and then Jeremy Chang, who was in the slot playing boundary half, was a good buddy of mine. So a lot of your highlights that day were on them. But
Sorry,
my
guys.
memories are. Oh no! Don't be sorry. Do not be sorry. I love being able to go dig at them now. But my memories of that are being able to actually rewatching it is like you probably could have had like 300 yards. There was a few passes as well that like they were bigger plays potentially could have been had.
Dude, the first or second was straight through my hands. I remember it like it
Yeah,
was yesterday.
yeah,
What am I doing? Like,
yeah. That would have been 50. That would have been 50 plus. So it was
mhm.
like the game that could have been had that day would have been electric. But as you said, like Neil had already kind of seen you prior, and kind of just that I feel like was like the ultimate like this guy's good enough. Um, I want to talk about that 2018 team and a little bit about the Okanagan team that you guys faced in the Cullen Cup because there was a lot of talented players on both sides. You guys specifically, you can talk about that a little bit more if you'd like. But I bring this up a lot of like the three guys that were on Okie of that went to the CFL and Jamin, Nick Cross, and I don't know why I'm forgetting another one. Nick Daly. But you guys had a ton of talent. You, Jacob Ferlot, who went to the I know was like with Winnipeg for a little bit. Max in the backfield and a ton of guys. What was that kind of year like? And then that Cullen Cup championship. I know you guys ran away with it and ultimately kind of put your foot down on them. But what was just like kind of playing with that talent level that year?
Yeah, like that. I feel like the whole year we're just trying to figure out what works for us. It was a bit of a up and down kind of year. Like we would lose to like teams that we shouldn't have lost to that season. But every person says that. But it was a lot of um fifth year guys, but playing the first time with like, how do I say it? Like I was a senior, I was 22, but it was my first time playing with everybody in BC. It was Xavier's fifth year, but it was Max, I think second or third year, but first time playing with me. Duncan's fifth year, first time playing with Max. So it was just like trying to figure everybody out and see who meshes well with who and what we can go with. And I felt like throughout the towards the end of the season, that's when we kind of started to click a bit, and that's when things started to get going. And we started putting up some like real numbers on offense, and defense has held it down. We had 33 Isaiah, right? Isaiah
Okoli, yeah,
Cross, I think. Sorry,
yeah.
Isaiah Okoli.
Went to
Um,
SMU, right? St. Mary's.
yeah. We had
Charles played Charles Noen, or I forget how you pronounce his last name, but Charles was that
Bruno.
the end. Yeah,
Yeah, the guy from UBC. Sorry,
yeah,
Charlie. Yeah, Charlie was
yeah.
there.
And Sky King.
Sky King, yeah, was there. You know what I'm saying? So we got some dogs on defense. We just had to put it together.
I can't forget. I have to say one guy. I don't. I'm curious actually, maybe get your opinion. But Kyle Clairot is one.
I
Also,
was
I
just
think
about
is a
to say
very
his name. Yeah.
underrated player and a guy that was like I think probably the best half for his while he was in the BCFC. But yeah, just an absolute. You guys were loaded on both sides, man.
Just natural talent. You know what I'm saying? Like guys who just came to practice and just balled out like every day. Um, yeah. Sorry. And then you were talking about the Cullen Cup. Yeah. So that transition to the Cullen Cup is a good game. I think I played like some Wildcat. Did I play some Wildcat in that game? Right. So we had to switch it up from the Raiders to the Sun, and Howie was saying we got to switch it up. Are you comfortable playing quarterback? So of course, man. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's been a couple of years, but yeah. Even though Snoop said like, don't, you're a receiver. You know what I'm saying? So I was excited to play Wildcat quarterback, but you're pretty much running the ball or doing an option play. Um, yeah, I felt like them seeing me as a quarterback, they didn't know what to do in certain moments, right? And then me lining up on the outside, come back on the inside, then as quarterback. So it was just switching things up, putting me in different positions and different guys in different positions too. And yeah, I think I had a good. I don't remember my stats that game, but I think I had a
I
good
believe
game.
you're over 100 receiving and a touchdown if I remember looking correctly. Um,
Yeah.
but transitioning now, Javon, a little bit forward. Now you end up kind of being like that territorial selection because the Lions have your rights, I believe, and then you end up going to training camp there in 2019. What are your memories of that? And is there like a welcome to the CFL moment or anything like that that came during training camp at all, or maybe like in the game, at first, initial games?
Yeah, man. Even before training camp, just the off-season training up to that date, I remember training at the facility, throwing around with Mike Riley, Lamar Durant, Shaq Johnson, and I think Burnham was there. I'm not too sure. But I'm the receiver, right? I'm there running routes with these guys. I remember Mike Riley said a comment saying, like, yo, who's this DN running routes over here? Like, what's going on? Everybody was just thinking I'm a DN, I guess for the size, right? But he's like, who's this DN running routes over here? And then I guess I had to prove myself to everybody because I'm from Langley. Nobody knows about like the Americans don't usually like know about like junior football, right? These are guys who come from D1, D2, stuff like that, or maybe CIS guys. That's they might know about or heard their names from like a draft, but I didn't get drafted. I was just a pick, um, and I had to just work my way. And I'd say my welcome to the moment was when I was the fourth string R starting off, and there was an injury. There was a receiver who wanted to play a different position, and then there was a bad day from the third string R that year. So they just put me in one practice. So I was running with Burnham, Shaq, Deron Carter, uh, Lamar Durant, and I was like the R. So I'm running routes, and then I ran a clear route. So I'm clearing everything over the top for guys to come underneath to do a dig or whatever the case is. I'm not the primary route, but I'm running a clear route, and I'm wide open. And usually when you're running clear routes, you don't think you're just like running to do your job for other people. So you're not thinking you're going to get the ball. So some guys would just like run the route and probably not even look back because they know they're just running with speed to just raise the coverage. And I was wide open. Mike seen it. Mike threw it, and I caught a touchdown. And I was like, my welcome, like, hey, like I could do this shit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's jumping. Because again, I'm a nobody. I'm from the Rams. I got to prove myself, right? So luckily enough, I got my opportunity that day, and then they trusted me. And then at the end of training camp, they made sure I was in the starting rotation, and I started all 16 games. I think I missed 2 games from injury, but I started all 16 games that season.
I should have looked this up before coming on, but did they Aiden Eberhart you at all? Like, were you wearing like 72 or anything? Like, were you wearing a gross number, or
Yeah,
did you get
yeah, that was my number, 72. I had to earn 86. Yeah.
You gotta love the first days, man. And you like Aiden kind of said, like you earn your number eventually, right? Of like just kind of
Mhm.
making plays in practice and whatnot and stuff like that. So what was like your mindset at that point? Because obviously, like you're a junior kid, you end up playing, like you said, like initially that rookie season, and you're playing with guys like Mike Riley, Brian Burnham, like guys that have like been there, done that, in the CFL. Was it just like, man, I'm just gonna go with the flow and like see how things go my rookie year and kind of not really put any expectations on me and try not to put too much pressure? Or like, what was your mindset kind of at that point in time?
Oh man, like my mindset is always to be the best at what I do. Ever since I was small, and my mindset that year, every single year, is to help my team win a championship. And if they want me to play here, I will do it to the best of my ability. And as soon as I got the kind of elevation to the first string, I'm like, I gotta do everything. It's in the weight room, it's in film, it's everything I gotta do to make sure I'm doing my job to help this team win. You know what I'm saying? And they kind of, I'm assuming the coaching staff kind of figured that out. Like I wasn't there to just like bullshit around or just be another like training camp body. I was there to make this team and help this team win. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing after practice work. I'm catching balls after practice. If I drop a ball in practice, I'm making sure I run that route 2, 3 times with the quarterback who threw me the ball after practice like that. And just to show them like, hey guys, like I'm ready and I'm willing to work. Like I'm not here just to have fun. I'm not here to just be here, right? I want to be here to win. So that was my mindset from the jump. And I'm pretty sure them seeing that, acknowledging that, that's why I'm still here.
All right, Joanna, last few couple questions for you, buddy, and then we'll get you out of here. So I appreciate you already for joining us and how much time you've given us. But Blake, you want to step back in here, buddy, and ask maybe one more question for Jevon?
Yeah, I do. Jevon, I have a favorite touchdown of yours in your CFL career, but
Hmm.
I want you to answer first before I maybe tell mine. Do you have a favorite touchdown in your CFL career?
My favorite touchdown?
Yeah.
Um, I only have like 11 or 12, but I'd say
Oh, don't say only though, Jevon. Come on now, those are hard earned, brother.
I know, but I got to get them up, man. I scored one. I scored one last season. I was in the playoffs. So I'm a little bit, upset about that. But I'd say my Winnipeg one.
Yeah.
I still think about that one. And then yeah, I
That
think I've
one.
been there a couple times.
Yeah.
My Winnipeg one and the one in Edmonton, because the one in Edmonton, my family was there. My dad drove up from Calgary to watch that game, and he was in the stands, and that was the one I did this, and everybody was hype and everything like that. So I'd say the Winnipeg one, and then my Edmonton one. I think both times I did this maybe, but yeah.
Yeah,
Why?
no,
So why I say Winnipeg number one is because the guy who I beat, um, what's his name again? I don't remember his name, but he was in the NFL and he's a DB, so he should be able to like catch me, right? You're thinking I'm a big guy, and so for me to just outrun him, he didn't think I had that speed, so that's why that's my number one.
yeah, that's my favorite as well. And you stiff
Uh,
on that touchdown. You stiff armed. I believe it was Evan Holm, wasn't it? Like right at like five
no,
yards into the route, and then
no, it wasn't. It wasn't home. It was what's his name, man? He was in the NFL, Winnipeg.
I can't think of it, but um, anyways, Javon, last few questions for me. I guess actually, Blake, you got to get going out of here, buddy. I appreciate you for joining us, and hopefully we can have Javon back on, and you can join us for a little bit longer in the future, maybe.
yeah, no, that. Thanks for having me on, Cole. Thanks for giving me some time, Javon. We'll see each other in May. I'm sure it's gonna come up here fast.
Definitely, definitely.
Yes. All
Have a
right.
good
Later,
day.
Blake. We'll talk to you later, Blake. All right, Javon. Last few, buddy. I'm curious. You've had the pleasure of playing with a number of great receivers. You know, you already mentioned one, Brian Burnham, but obviously the you guys kind of got dubbed bad boys a few years ago with kind of that group of like Dom Rhymes, Brian Burnham, Lucky, and Hatch. How much fun was that for you being a young guy and kind of playing with those guys and you know specifically like Hatch and Lucky who've been in the NFL and like have pedigree, and then just to kind of be like a sponge of soaking that all up and going to like I know VA getting you guys together in the off season and stuff like that, and just probably like I said, being a sponge of like soaking all this up and just like really enjoying yourself. I'm sure.
Yeah, a ton of fun, man. A brotherhood in football is hard to come by, and when it happens, it elevates your game when your brothers when your brothers on the field, fighting for each other, winning with each other, and then off the field too, when you can just hang out, man, party, go for a drink, watch some sports together and stuff like that, enjoy activities together, and just have a good time around each other, man. Like football is such a physically demanding sport. You kind of sometimes forget that, hey, like you could actually have some fun away from football. Like it's okay. So for us to have that brotherhood over my past 5 seasons, man, I've definitely learned so many things from Burnham, Shaq, Deron Carter, Lamar Durant, Rhymes, Lucky Whitehead, guys who are older than me, guys who have come before me, just seeing how they come to work every day, seeing how committed they are, you know, um, not just to football, but to their families and stuff like that. Yeah, I've definitely taken full advantage of those memories, those opportunities, man. I just wish all the best to all of those guys, man, who I played with and who I'm still currently playing with.
Absolutely. So, um, in by no means do I want to get political with this question, Javon, but I just want to ask
Gotcha.
about your two quarterbacks. And I, like I said, the fan base has their own opinions. I just want you to talk about them as your teammates and kind of the experiences you've had with, one Vernon Adams and for me, I'm always going to be and root for Vernon Adams for the way he's handled this past season. Like I said, I don't want to get political. How has he been as a leader to you? And then just kind of how are you excited for like with Nathan going forward now as your quarterback again?
Yeah, man. VA is. We're texting today too. I had to ask him about a spot in Seattle that I might go to in the future. But yeah, VA is my bro, man. Ever since he came in to BC, we tapped in. He does his hair all the time, so I got him connected with my hairstylist. From there to just how he just makes sure everyone around him is happy, man. He does a good job. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how that's not like draining to him, but just for him to take pride in that and to make sure everybody around him is happy or making sure that everyone's taken care of, man. I don't know, like for him to bring everybody out years consecutively, away from their families and their homes, him paying for everything, supporting us. It's just huge, man. It's just him being the leader he is. And I know Calgary's beyond lucky to have a guy like that in their locker room, but definitely it's just sad, the way things went, but that's business, right? You can't get caught up in these things and like personal feelings and stuff like that. That's just how the business is. But he's a great dude. I don't have anything negative to say about him. And I wish him all the best. If he sees this, man, it's all love, always, And then with Nathan, same thing, man. It's always love. When Nathan was injured, with his foot, in 2022, I drove him to his rehab facility a couple times, and we were talking, throughout the whole car ride and everything like that. And we throw in the off season. When he got picked up by the Patriots, that's my favorite team because of Randy Moss, Tom Brady, and everything. When he got picked up by the Patriots, I was his number one supporter. I was almost about to buy a jersey, before things got whatever hectic. But yeah, man, I've been Nathan's number one fan. The way he comes into work, he's willing to train, making sure everyone's taken care of, checking in with everyone, all of the receivers, everybody on the offense. He's just a great leader, man. Both great leaders. I can't say anything negative about those guys.
Yeah, great. Well, very well said. My last question here for you, Jevon, is do you take a sense of pride of kind of being a part of the core group of the Lions now? I know there's a few guys, David Mackey, hopefully if Andrew Pearson gets re-signed, TJ Lee, Gary Peters, guys that have been around for a long time. But if you look at yourself, I know we were talking about 2014 and that being a long time ago. 2019 is when you started with the Lions now. Going on, 4 or 5 seasons, so a long time now. And you are a very important part of the core of this group of kind of that FTC, the for the culture that this team believes in. And I think it's a very big part of why you guys have been so successful over the last few years. And you talked about playing hard for your brothers and stuff like that. Do you take a sense of pride in that, or do you have you kind of maybe looked at that now? I feel like maybe now athletes, when they're in it, you're so locked in, and you kind of maybe don't get a chance to look at something like that. But is that cool to you? That man, I'm kind of a important cog to the organization.
Yeah, 100%, man. I take a lot of pride in playing football for this long. It's very rare to be able to experience this much football in someone's career. I think the average CFL career span is like 1 to 3 years, right? So I've surpassed that, and I'm grateful and I'm honored that the BC Lions still give me the opportunity to perform. And yeah, I take a lot of pride in being one of the core guys now. After every game, I usually make sure on one side of the stadium, that's where my friends and family sit. Every signature, I try to get as many signatures as I can. Every kid, adult, fan, I don't care who it is, man. I'm signing everything, because some of them actually come out. I'm now seeing people with my jersey number, last name on the back. When I first seen that and I signed that for the first time, I was just in awe. I was shocked. I'm like, I didn't think I'd ever see the day, because like you said, where I started from to now being a core guy, it's a lot different now. I've been here for a long time, so to just notice that, witness that, man, I'm just so happy and I'm just so prideful, and not hopefully, I'm doing my job and making sure I stay healthy, and I'm doing what I can in the weight room, the film room, and making sure I do the field work and to help my team win this Grey Cup this year. That's by any means,
By any
this
means.
season.
By any means. Well said. I got to give my flowers to you, Javon, before we get you out of here, man, because as you said about kind of like, I had this conversation when I had Jamin on the pod last year, and he was kind of like, man, it's cool to think of like, you get into a training camp in the CFL, and like guys are coming from, like you said, big major Division Ones, and like you're a kid from junior program, and you're right there competing side by side
Dude,
with
I'm a
guys
kid
that are,
from St. Vincent and the
yes,
Grenadines,
sir,
man. You
man.
know what I'm
Like
saying?
that,
Yeah.
that's got to be super cool to you, man. Like, and especially like you said, like I know it's the NFL is like the not for long league, and you mentioned about like the career expectancy like 1 to 3 years, and like you've already exceeded that, and you're going to continue to exceed that, because I would imagine like you're going to continue to get opportunities, and you're continuing to find yourself being valuable in many ways, and you're not just a pass catcher. You're very important in the run game and blocking, and even in pass protection too. Sometimes where you're called to be in pass protection. So like I said, I just wanted to give your flowers, Jevon. Lastly, we're going to speak it into existence. I tried to speak it into last year. I know some circumstances, injuries, all that stuff. 1,000-yard season is incoming next year, 2025 for Jevon. 800, I believe, is the career high in 2023. Last
Yeah.
year was a little bit of a quieter year, and I know injuries played a big part in that. But I also think people need to kind of realize, like I mentioned, of like the role that you play, and sometimes you're not in the routes downfield, and you're asked to be in pass protection like that because of how valuable you are to the team, and kind of the role that you play. So keep on doing you, man. And I'm excited to see what the team looks like here in 2025. But Jevon, any words for the people before we get you out of here?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me today. It's a pretty cool little thing you got going here, man. I know this has been long overdue, so I apologize on
Yeah.
my behalf for
No,
not,
no, no, no.
coming on here earlier. But yeah, man, hopefully we can do this again. You know what I'm saying? And if any BC Lions fans watching this right now, I'm telling you, this is the year. I said it. Mark it down, man. This is the year that we win this Grey Cup. There's no more messing around and stuff like that, man. It's by any means this year. Whatever we got to do, it's not gonna look pretty all the time. It's not gonna look, you know what I'm saying? This is the year. Simple as that.
Would love to have you back on, Jevon. There's a ton of stuff we didn't get to chat about, but I appreciate you, number one. Have a good rest of your off season. Stay healthy, man, and hopefully we'll chat soon.
Thank you so much, man. Have a great day.
Of course. Later, Jevon. That was BC Lions receiver Jevon Cottoy. Thanks, Jevon, so much for joining us. We appreciate it so much. That's going to do it for today's podcast, everybody. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, leave a comment. Let us know what you guys enjoyed about today's episode. Let us know, maybe, like I said, future guests on the podcast you guys would like to see. We have incoming guests such as Andrew Harris, Jalen Philpott, head coach Sean Arabsky of the Vancouver Island Raiders, and hopefully many more guests lined up in the future here in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for this one, folks. Hopefully should be dropping. This is being recorded on the night of the 16th, maybe in around, let's check quickly, 20th potentially. I know Arrow Up's releasing a Tuesday, or we're going to go with a TBD, folks. Check back. Or actually, I guess that brings me to follow our social media platforms. And that's how you guys can stay tuned to when this episode will be uploaded to your YouTube platforms. I was going to say podcast platforms, but unfortunately, we're still off of Apple Podcast uploading. Hopefully, in the future, we will be setting that back up once again so you guys can listen to it outside of YouTube. So, I believe that brings us to the end of today's episode. Like I said, comment down below. Let us know what you guys enjoyed about today's episode. Let us comment down below of something you would like to maybe chat about with Jevon next time. Hopefully we have him back on the channel, and we can maybe do a potential Q&A and kind of include some of you guys in the comments. We're going to kind of tone down the live shows, live shows until next season. So unfortunately, no interaction with the live chat, which is fun from time to time. But I think with the comments, hopefully people are able to come back and interact in that as well. So lastly, follow us on Instagram at Canadian Football Fanatics, as well as Twitter at _CF Fanatics. That was a good one. I really enjoyed chatting with Jevon, hearing a little bit more about his story, hearing a little bit about his journey, and getting some perspective. We talked about being where he's from and kind of comparing that to coming to Canada and just being grateful for what you have. So really, really, really enjoyed that one. I was definitely curious. I remember that game very well. The 2018 semifinal game is what I'm talking about, where Jevon had 7 receptions, I will remind you, for 245 yards and 4 touchdowns. I have memories of watching Jevon Cottoy run down the sideline, unfortunately, for 6. And I was dying just to kind of hear from his perspective of, being in his shoes. And it was definitely funny. And hopefully, if the boys are watching this, G, Sean, Chang, anybody else in the secondary, the boys forgive me for bringing that up, because that was a tough day at the office. But you play this game long enough, I know they're just saying sometimes you're going to get got, sometimes you're going to be the one getting got. How's that saying go? Sometimes you're going to get got, and sometimes you're going to be doing the getting. I believe it's close to what the saying is. But like I said, hopefully we're able to have Jevon on again. There's a ton of stuff that I wasn't able to chat with him on. And that will be it for another episode on the Canadian Football Fanatics. And we will see you guys on the next one.